Okay, so finished the quilt. Have about an hour left to put this binding on. I'm actually pretty quick at it. I didn't want to make any decisions, so I just did like a solid gray. So I'm gonna actually sew it on to my quilt while it's on the long arm. And then I cut the quilt off and then I sew it and stitch it on the machine. So I've been doing this for years. So I do a little tuck and press, and I'm starting at the bottom of my quilt, and I'm leaving myself about 5 inches here, and I've got my channel lock straight seam just to go along the bottom of the quilt, and then I'll show you how I turn it. So I'm at the corner here, and I just stitched along, and I stopped about 1/4 of an inch away from my edge here. And then I backtracked, and I'm just taking my needle off of the quilt onto the batting. So then now I'm going to fold this over, just like you do when you're on your sit down, and tuck it up like that. And then, let's see if I can do this one-handed. Oh, that was a little scary. Okay, and then I'm going to place my needle 1/4 of an inch away and then just continue stitching up the left side. And so as you can see, I just went ahead and I started stitching up this left side, and that will give me my mitered binding corner. And I do 2.5 inch strips for my binding. Okay, so now I'm at the top. I can't go anymore because my quilt and roller is in the way. So I'm just going to advance and keep my needle down, and as I advance the needle here, and then I can keep going up the quilt. So I advanced my quilt, and now I can go ahead and keep going up, and I just keep my binding sort of gathered on the quilt and it stays out of the way that way. Okay, so I've made it around my quilt, and I'm going to go ahead and stitch along the bottom here. I cut off my excess here, and then that's going to get tucked underneath my tuck. And then I'll be able to just quilt right along and meet up with my beginning stitches. Okay, so there you go. And I'm ready to cut my quilt off here and trim it up. And if you have any questions about... And then the last thing I do before I stitch on my machine is I press with my iron. I press over, and then I'll flip my quilt to the back and I press it over again. And then that way it's just easier to stitch that binding down. I stitch on the top in my ditch here and then catch the back.